right, welcome back in. 441 from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios. This is the Zach Gelb Show right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. Yesterday, they did introduce Gabe Kapler to the Philadelphia media, as Gabe Kapler is the new Philadelphia Phillies manager. Someone that knows Gabe very well is a former teammate of his, and that's a three-time World Series champion, and to me, someone that should have already been in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and that's Curt Schilling, who's kind enough to join us right now. The former Philadelphia Philly joins us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Curt, appreciate the time as always. Thank you for it, and how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, and we appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure.
So your reaction when you heard the news that Gabe Kapler is the new Phillies manager?
Very excited for him. I try to tell people, Gabe wasn't just a teammate of mine. In my 20-year career, I'd put him in probably one of my 5 favorite teammates of all time.
Wow.
Phenomenal human being. Great communicator. This is something I think I played with guys like him and Alex Cora, who are managers. They were managers when they were players, and you could see that.
Give me some anecdotes about Gabe Kapler and your time with him.
Well, I'm in this day and age, I can't really give you many because a lot of things we said to each other in the clubhouse. You got to remember, he is of the Jewish faith and he is a liberal. I am a conservative, and so a lot of what we did to each other wouldn't be done in public.
Gotcha.
But I love him. That we had some of my favorite conversations of all time were with him over politics, and because once we got over the yelling and back and forth, we were. He's a very thoughtful guy. I'm just excited. I'm really excited for him. I'm proud of it, and I'm really hoping that everything plays out and works out for him.
Being a first-time big league manager that Gabe's going to be, you know Philadelphia very well.
Yep.
Other than talent, because there's a lot of talent that still needs to get on the scene here in Philadelphia and produce, what challenges personally do you think he'll face as a first-year manager?
Well, I've already set him up. I sent him kind of my scouting report of the media in Philadelphia, kind of giving him my rundown of local media members. It's very much like Boston from the standpoint of you have to, as a manager, you have to play the game before the game during the game, and the game after the game. And the before game is with the media, and the after game is with the media. They carry enough weight to make a difference in your clubhouse. And knowing that, you going in, you have to handle how you address them. And Gabe is a guy. He's a very measured guy. He's going to do fine. I mean, it's a different thing. Things are going to change, but these players are going to be put to the test from a commitment perspective, and I love that.
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job yesterday handling the press. That's one thing to win a press conference, but they got to continue to move forward as we're talking to Curt Schilling. But yesterday, the media, they were digging up everything on that blog of his, talking about coconut oil, tanning the boys, and running over a squirrel.
I used to joke about it every time I saw him. I'd say, "What are you coming from doing your abs?" Like, he is obviously a fitness freak.
Yeah.
He is at another level when it comes to taking care of himself, and there's something to be said for that. I mean, that takes a lot of commitment, and he was always a guy that was. I just loved playing with him. I enjoyed as much sitting on the bench talking to him as I did anything else.
Him being a health nut, like you're saying, and also you could get the feel he was a very good teammate with the influence that he had in your career. And then also you hear the words analytics all the time now with new managers, and he's been an analytical guy. Just what type of manager do you think he'll be?
I think he's going to be very much a sabermetrics guy from a lineup perspective. I'm always curious. I think the one thing you never know is how a guy like that is going to handle a pitching staff. Because that's probably the area where they have the least experience. So, it'll be interesting, but I don't think that's anything he won't be able to handle.
Yeah, I just hope he just doesn't follow the book 100% of the time.
He won't. No. Nobody does that for the most part.
Well, hold on. How about the World Series?
Does, because this World Series was incredible.
That's what I'm saying.
I love him to death, but I thought there was some horrific mismanagement going on. But there's a gut feel to it, and I don't feel like he's a guy who wouldn't trust his gut every now and then.
Yeah, because this World Series, Curt, it drove me nuts with some of the quick pitching changes.
Yep. Yeah, it was stupid. It really was. It was uncalled. Well, I mean, I thought both managers managed their bullpens horrifically. It's just that I guess AJ manages a little less worse than David did, and I love David to death. I was hoping to see him win, but I'm excited for Houston.
Talking to Curt Schilling right now, the talent of the Phillies moving forward. How do you evaluate that right now?
I think it's a World Series potential pitching staff. Huge arms on that staff. I love the arms on that staff. I think from a position player perspective, there's some young talent to work with there. I think there's some guys you need to cut bait with, and probably do some different things from a lineup perspective. I'm curious to see the commitment they make this winter, but it's a different place now. Philadelphia is a place that goes out and will spend money. It's not about spending money, as you guys have learned. For every Ryan Howard, there's somebody worth it making 1/10 that money, and I think that it's how you spend it wisely. And Gabe is going to be looking for high character guys to be in that clubhouse, and that'll be a good thing.
I like what Nola showed me this year a lot, bouncing back.
Yeah.
But with the pitching staff, why do you like the rest of this rotation so much?
I like the arms. I like the arms. I thought I was disappointed. I thought Vasquez should have made a leap this year. I was expecting him to move to another level. I didn't see that. I think he's an opening day kind of a guy. I love Aaron Nola. I love the arms. If you give me power pitchers, I can make Cy Young winners. And that's my mentality as a teacher. You give me big swing and miss arms, and there's a way to make them into something special.
With now teams having more information about Rhys Hoskins, what type of season do you expect out of Rhys this upcoming year?
You know what? I don't know. I want to. I'll tell you what. Watch spring training. Because there's nothing like watching a guy who comes out and has a phenomenal, half month, whatever it is, and then they go back to spring training and you get a real good feel real quickly how they're going to adjust, because he's going into spring training next year. There's expectations. Right? I mean,
big expectations.
Right. There's expectations, and in Philadelphia they're going to be larger than life, as they always are. And how is he going to handle that? Because that'll be his first kind of a litmus test on whether he's a guy who can take a breath every now and then and slow the game down.
Really mature, really good guy. We got a chance to talk to him a few times in the minors, but you look at just the landscape of Philadelphia right now in sports. You have a young star with the Eagles and Wentz. You have young stars with the Sixers with Embiid and Simmons. So there's going to be big-time expectations for him and a great excitement level from this fan base that is looking for another winner.
Yeah, well, Philadelphia, listen, you're going to be riding the Eagles. Let's be very clear about that. I don't think there's any question that the Eagles are the team to beat in that division. I think it's going to be. I love Carson Wentz. I love what they're doing. I think they're incredibly athletic. I don't think it's a fluke by any stretch. And that city's going to be bonkers over the Eagles. They've waited forever for this. So hopefully they'll be riding a high coming into spring training, and with that'll come expectations. And not to win a World Series, but definitely to be a lot better next year than they were this year.
I know you said on the Fanatic a few days ago that you reached out to Gabe Kapler and you want to be the pitching coach. Any response from Gabe?
I actually didn't say that. I reached out and we talked, and I texted him, told him I'd have interest in talking about the job. You got to understand something. Being a pitching coach is twice the work of being a big league pitcher. Being a pitching coach is all about it's a 20-hour-a-day job. I mean, I'm not getting prepped to get ready for a start. I'm getting 12 pitchers ready every day, and in spring training it's 20 to 25. And I think the big league pitching coach is the guy that kind of sets an organizational philosophy. And the one thing for me as a pitching coach I want to see happen is I want to see my starting pitchers start to realize that innings are the most important statistic again. Because if I have to manage in October and from the standpoint of, well, I hope my starter gives me 6, then I'm already behind the 8 ball. If I have starters who go out there and take that 9 innings and own it, then it's a different game. And I want to see that come back.
I've told you this before. I think you should be in the Hall of Fame, and we talked about the Hall of Fame a lot, and we disagreed on some things off the field, of course, talking to you throughout the years, which is just going to happen all the time. But, let's just say if the Phillies did hire you as the pitching coach, the headline would be Phillies hire controversial Curt Schilling to be the pitching coach. Do you think the Phillies would be okay with it? Do you think they'd be okay with it, though?
Well, first of all, a couple things. First of all, the tweeting and all the other political stuff would stop, because as a pitching coach, you're not there to draw any attention. You're there to coach pitchers. You pitching coach. You don't do interviews. You don't do media. You coach a pitching staff. That's a job. You can't be a reason for publicity for the club, if that makes sense. You can't be someone who's got sides. The last thing in the world as a pitching coach you want is for players and other coaches to have to answer questions about you. So, I mean, that all that stuff stops, and that's but that, again, it's something I'd have interest in. It's an enormous commitment, not one that I wouldn't be afraid of, but I'd also want to understand what was going on, what the intentions were, what the direction was, and all those other things. But Gabe is one of the few people in my lifetime that I've been around that I would absolutely think about being a coach under, because I have no aspirations to manage. So from that perspective, I'm very well, I've always been very loyal, but I want to manage a pitching staff, period. I want to manage pitchers and talk pitching and teach pitching. That's all I want to do.
So that's the only way that you could get silence if you became the pitching coach, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, probably.
I think ESPN then would have maybe made you a pitching coach back in the day. We're wrapping up with Curt Schilling right now. Do you like Matt Klentak?
Yeah. I don't.
What do you like about him?
Enough. I'm not going to go, overboard or underwhelm anyone right now. I haven't seen enough of them. They weren't a team that I was following very closely. Excuse me. Again, the thing I do love, listen, you're in a ballpark that needs ground ball pitchers, or you need power pitchers that can pitch to right field. If you have to use left field in that ballpark, you're going to be in trouble if you have to do it consistently. So, anybody that can make the ball end up in right field, if it's in the air, is guys that can work there. And so you come in knowing that, and you make the ballpark work for you instead of against you.
And then before we let you run, I just want to touch on one thing with the Yankees. They no longer have Joe Girardi. They moved on after a really special year for the Yankees. There wasn't much expectation going into it.
Yep.
When you heard that news, what was your first thought
Blown
when Girardi
away.
wasn't coming back?
Blown away that they did that. I did not. I thought that I'm with you. I'm not a Yankee fan, but I had absolutely no qualms with what happened this year. I think they overachieved tremendously. I didn't expect them to be. I think they're going to be very good for a very long time, but I didn't expect it to be this year. And I thought he did a phenomenal job managing them, and I thought it was a very awkward time for them to be parting ways.
No doubt about it. Hey, Curt, great stuff as always. We appreciate it. Be
All right,
well.
man. Thank you.
Thanks so much. There's Curt Schilling joining us. So there you go. The one way to silence all the hot takes and all the political conversation and everything from Curt Schilling on Twitter is very simple. Gabe Kapler needs to make him the new pitching coach. Which I'm a little bit surprised that Curt would want to do that. A little bit surprised. Definitely surprised about it. Because Kurt's always someone that just says whatever is on his mind. So I'd be surprised that he'd want to go that way maybe. But there you go. Maybe Curt becomes the next pitching coach. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't. And a big reason, it was interesting to hear what he said about that, just because of the fact that he was saying, as a pitching coach, you got to basically be silent. You can't be doing all the things that you were doing. And that's the first thing I thought of when I heard that the other day, that maybe there's some interest from one Curt Schilling, that I thought to myself, well, hey, from a media standpoint, I know Gabe was a good quote yesterday, but just knowing what Curt always gives you, maybe you just want to go to Curt or something like that and talk to Curt. But seems like Curt gets that if you're a pitching coach, you kind of just got to shut up and get the whole staff ready and get your whole bullpen ready. So I don't think he's going to be the pitching coach. But Gabe Kapler, your new Phillies manager. So there you go.